All America, all the time. Sit down, buckle up, and get ready for The Dan Bongino Show.
Well, I have a special surprise for you today. Got some exclusive audio Andrew's been working on. It's amazing. You're never going to believe we got our hands on this. Andrew has been working on this feverishly for the last half an hour. You're going to love this. Only we have it. Only we have it. So how many times are we going to go through this with the Donald Trump playbook versus the media playbook? How many times? What did I tell you all yesterday? I'm not talking to the Bongino army. I love you guys. You already know where I'm going with this. But to my haters who, it's okay. You're welcome here too. It's okay. I told you yesterday, correct, with all the, I cannot believe he's going to wipe out Iran. He's going to nuke the whole place. It's going to blow up. It's going to separate. He's going to destroy it. It's going to be a parking lot. Trump is crazy, they were saying. He's nuts. He's totally lost it. And do you remember this conversation yesterday? I hope you do. Many of you were here. I said, have you not seen this a couple thousand times from Donald Trump? What was the name of his book? Wasn't it called like The Art of the Deal? You know, you could actually read the book if you'd like to see how Donald Trump negotiates a deal. You could read the book he wrote, Justin, about the deal, where he actually says this stuff. He takes this maximalist position. He then gets a concession where we're better than the baseline and where he started. He's only done it 1,000 times. The North Koreans, Venezuela, tariffs. The list goes on and on and on. So I'm going to go into this in the beginning of the show, the Trump playbook versus the media playbook. And you're going to see again how all of the people who lost their minds yesterday about Trump's True Social post about wiping out Iran wasted your time if you lost your mind over it. Scratching at your face. I can't believe it. He's going to nuke Iran. World War III again. A lot of these commentators have predicted effectively 422 out of the last 2 world wars. It's incredible. All right, today's show brought to you by All Family Pharmacy. Do not wait until you're sick. This is important. Stay prepared with essential medications on hand in your house, shipped right to your door. Go today. Don't wait for an emergency. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Bongino to learn more. Use code Bongino10 for 10% off. Prescription required. Thank you, All Family Pharmacy. Today's show also brought to you by our really good friends at Brickhouse Nutrition. Listen, I got a ton of great sponsors. This is one of the products I use religiously, folks. It is lean. It's an amazing product. I have really bad joints. I think you know that. It's not a secret. I'm constantly complaining about it on the show. So I can't afford to be carrying around some extra weight. I didn't really mind growing up because I like to, be a little stronger in the gym, even if I had a little goo. The goo was no good as I get older. Justin's like, this isn't in his mouth. It's fine. I'm just telling you my policy with losing weight. I needed to drop some lbs, lost about 30 pounds with lean, never felt better. I swear by the product, it's really good. Losing weight's a pain. I've been there. You look in the mirror, you're like, I don't really like it how it looks. But folks, listen, doctors created lean, Brickhouse Nutrition, as a supplement, not as an expensive prescription. It works like a lot of those GLP-1s do. Weight loss injections work by doing a couple simple things. They help control blood sugar and curb your appetite. So you eat less. It's not a mystery. That's what lean was created to do. Replace the benefits of injections without needles. Lean supports healthy blood sugar and helps reduce spikes and crashes that drive snacking and cravings. Let me just throw something in there. My experience with it, I've been able to keep that weight off for close to 3 years now, maybe longer. Lean supports healthy blood sugar and helps reduce spikes and crashes that drive snacking and cravings. But lean, L-E-A-N, lean goes a step further. It helps your body burn fat into energy instead of storing it. No prescriptions, no needles. If you've been thinking about losing weight, let's go. Don't waste any more time. Go to brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. Use promo code Dan to get 20% off. That's brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. Promo code Dan. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. The product's not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any disease. It's not a substitute or alternative for care from a healthcare provider. Thank you, Brickhouse Nutrition. Well, let me do the point first, but that's okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we got some exclusive audio. There was a Trump phone call with the level 7 of the Iranian mullah theocracy, because level 1 through 6 has been wiped out. That led to this ceasefire. We'll see if it lasts or not, but the concessions on that with the Strait opening up, and this is pretty profound stuff. So Andrew's working really hard to clean this up. Justin, play that if you would.
This is flaming dragon.
Okay, flaming dragon, fuckface. First, take a big step back and literally fuck your own face! Now, I don't know what kind of pan-Pacific bullshit power play you're trying to pull here, but Asia Jack is my territory. So whatever you're thinking, you better think again. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to head down there, and I will rain down on a godly fucking firestorm upon you. You're gonna have to call the fucking United Nations and get a fucking binding resolution to keep me from fucking destroying you. I am talking scorched earth, motherfucker. I will massacre you. I will fuck you up.
Wow. How did you guys get that? Andrew, he's got better sources than me. I worked in administration. I don't even know people. I don't know how that leaked out. Sorry, guys. This is never meant to be like the comedy show. However, that was rolling around on X this morning. That is a clip, of course, from look at the Mutleys. Everybody's breaking the Mutley rolling out. We got 6 Mutleys, 10 Mutleys. That's not even a thing. Chat, blow it up with the Mutleys. We love it. Yeah, great. We love you, Joe, up there. Muttley, the Mutley man. Yeah, that's probably what it did sound like. However, that was Tropical Thunder, the greatest movie cameo of all time by Tom Cruise. Thank you guys for putting that together. But on a serious note, even though I hate when people say that, how many times are we going to go through this? Let me lay out for you very simply. Guys, ladies, please record digitally, screen grab. I don't really care. MAGA Kitty, we love you. You're always putting out my clips. You're fantastic. Everyone, please save this, okay? Bookmark this. Whether you like my show or not, because it's not about me. It's about stopping you from having a 30-point blood pressure spike and having a heart attack every time Donald Trump takes a maximalist position and puts something out on True Social you think sounds crazy. Here's how this is going to go, okay? Everybody ready? Jasmine, you taking notes? Okay, good. Here's Trump. I will negotiate with you on X. X could be tariffs, could be the Iranians, could be the nuclear payload in Iran. I will negotiate on this thing. I will come into it with an open mind. He even talks about Kim Jong-un, a tyrant and a scumbag. He talks about Kim Jong-un and he doesn't shit on him in public. He says, listen, we've got a good relationship because he doesn't want to get into a nuclear war. So he will give you, even if you are a tier 1 scumbag, the benefit of the doubt during negotiations. Have you or have you not seen this in the past, folks? He does it with Putin. He does it, and the media pretends to be horrified. Do they not? I can't believe he likes Kim Jong-un. He doesn't like Kim Jong-un. He called him Little Rocket Man and told him his nuclear button was bigger than him. Did you miss that, dipshits out there in the media? He doesn't like Kim Jong-un. It's a negotiation tactic. Do you even pay attention? If he liked Vladimir Putin, he wouldn't be providing weapons to Ukraine. It's a negotiating tactic. Pay attention. Try to keep up, media dipwads. Okay? Step 1, negotiate even with bad people, because the world, shockingly, since the sarcasm, is full of bad people. I'm not going to negotiate with him. He's a bad guy. It doesn't work that way. Step 2, if I do not get what I want, escalate. If I have to escalate quickly, I will. This is what Donald Trump does. He wrote about it in the book. Little Rocket Man, I've got my nuclear button. Vladimir Putin better be really careful about what's going to happen next. We'll take out Moscow. Escalate quickly. Rattle your enemy by escalating quickly because it was unpredictable that you were going to do that. They didn't expect that. What did Mike Tyson say once? What's the best punch in the world? Tell me in the chat. The one you never saw coming. And you can never see which direction Trump's punching from. You expected a jab, he kicks you in the balls. You expect to be kicked in the nuts, he bites your ear off. He just is unpredictable. Negotiate in good faith. You don't get what you want, escalate unpredictably, maybe intentionally, chaotically. Intentionally, chaotically, yes. You know exactly what I mean. Third, stake out a maximalist position. We're going to wipe out Iranian civilization. And then, fourth, settle where we did this morning in a baseline position better than where you started in the first place. No sane actor, even people who I think dispute strongly Donald Trump's decision to engage in this war theater in Iran with our weaponry, no sane person can tell you, if you were to put a beer in them when they're not lying for clicks, that we are not in a better position with the Iranians than we were before we started. Level 1 through 6 of the Iranian theocracy has been taken out. Their navy's at the bottom of the sea. Their ballistic missile capability is still pretty robust, but it's been damaged significantly. Their drone factories, their leadership can't even talk. The Basij militia doesn't even know how to communicate before getting whacked. There's no question we're in a better spot. Negotiate, escalate, maximalist position, resettle on an elevated baseline. Are you writing this down, media people? I'm trying to help you. You are going to wake up and have a coronary. You're going to have a TIA or a full-blown stroke if you keep doing this. World War III. How many World War III? Do you guys know how numbers work? Justin, how many world wars have there been? 2. Wow, you're pretty good at history. We're at like World War 62 with these people. There is yet to be a World War III. The almost World War III that happened under Biden when Russia invaded Ukraine. Did you miss that? Negotiate, escalate, maximalist position, reset at a better baseline, okay? You write that down. Here's the media thing. The media playbook. So Trump playbook, media playbook. The media playbook. Trump isn't doing anything. Think about when the Iranians were protesting in the street. You're like, what was that, like 10 years ago? No, it was like 3-4 months ago. The Iranians were protesting in the street. And what was the media that hates Trump saying? Trump isn't doing anything. I cannot believe he is leaving these people, hanging them out to dry, the Iranians. You remember that? You go look it up on X. You can see some of their posts. This guy's a fake chicken, coward, not doing anything for the Iranians. You can go look. They said this. So media playbook step 1, Trump isn't doing anything. Then Trump does something, tweets out or puts out on Truth how he's going to wipe out Iranian civilization. And the media responds, this mother is totally crazy. What a lunatic. This dude is insane. Step 1, Trump doesn't do anything. He's a coward. Step 2, Trump does something, and what he does is crazy. This guy's a lunatic. World War III, World War V, World War VII. What is it? Is he doing it? He's not supposed to do something, or is he going to do something? What is it? Then step 3, Trump gets a deal like he did last night. The deal going to work? I don't think there's high expectations, but he's giving him a shot. Trump gets a deal, and what do they go with next? Taco. Trump always chickens out. I thought 10 minutes ago he was crazy, and he did too much. What did we... Which one is it? I cannot believe, as my mother-in-law would say, I can't believe he bombed Iranian bridges. He's threatening civilian infrastructure, which, by the way, is being used for military purposes. I can't believe he took out level 1 through 6 of the Iranian theocracy. So how did he chicken out? I don't understand. He chicken out, then chicken. How do you go? Now, I get it. I got our good friend Vince Colanese up later. I'll talk to him about this too. I get it. You may say, Dan, you're correct. They're not consistent at all. Folks, it's deliberate. The media wants to play stupid. There are dumb people in it. You got the Joy Reids out there. I get it. But there are people out there in the media, I promise you, who are not stupid. They know what they're saying is bullshit. And they do it anyway. Trump isn't doing anything. Trump does something and he's crazy. And then Trump gets a deal and then he chickened out. Does any of that make sense? Here's a clip of Trace Gallagher on Fox. It actually starts with, I think it's Aaron Burnett at CNN, but he's covering it. And Trace, this is just about 30 seconds, that's it. But brings up this exact point. This can't Trump is crazy in his negotiating style, or Trump always chickens out when he gets a deal. Like, you can't have it both ways. Which one is it? You were shitting on him the other day for taking this maximalist position on truth that he was going to wipe out Iran. And then when he didn't wipe out Iran, you were complaining that he chickened out. Which freaking story is true? Remember, the media always tells you a story, but they never tell you the story. Those aren't the same things. Check this out.
There will be some who will call it, taco. Right? Trump always chickens out, which is making way too light of it. But it is also a truth, which is that he makes giant threats that he does not follow through on. Yeah. So it's one thing for everyone to say, well, nobody wanted him to do this. And it's another to say that the word of the president of the United States is now something that people do not think that they can take at his word, that they expect it to be just a quick trading opportunity every single time.
Have they ever heard of negotiation? He makes giant threats and they condemn him for those giant threats. And then when he backs them, oh, see, he didn't follow through on the giant threat. Make up your minds, people.
I don't know any other way to say it. Trace just summed it up in 35 seconds in the clip. You're mad at him for making a threat that led to a concession, and now you're calling him a chicken because the threat led to a concession when you were going crazy about the concession, saying we're afraid he's not chicken and may act out the concession. If your head is spinning right now, it's supposed to. Rewind the tape, go back 15 seconds, and listen to what I said in slow motion, media people. Just 2 days ago, the Iranians were saying the Strait will never be the same, never open up, we're done, we own. And now all of a sudden, it's not fully open, let's not be dramatic, but there's traffic moving through again. You're telling me the Iranians didn't concede? Am I under any illusions, by the way, that the Iranian demands, and some of it, that CNN stuff was a lot of garbage. However, am I under any illusions the Iranians are just giving up and the Iranian mullahs are going to just forfeit over 400 kilos of enriched nuclear material? I'm not. We may have to go back in there, and there may be more pressure, and there may be more maximalist threats. The bottom line to this whole thing is we have reset at a new baseline that is far better than where we started. And you pretending that's not the truth just makes you look like an asshole. I'm being honest and candid with you about all of this. I love the president. He's been a great friend to me. He was a great leader, and he was a tremendous manager, too, to work for. He was. But we have to be candid. The Iranians are insane. They're really crazy. And there's a good possibility that the next 2 weeks they can continue to lob missiles all around the region. There's a good chance they could try to, I doubt it, but they could try to hide their nuclear material. That'd be a big mistake. We'd probably see most of it. It's fairly candid. I think the Trump administration is saying the same thing. But for the anti-Trump crowd out there, and that includes, by the way, liberals, media people, and doomer Republicans always predicting the worst, can you just be honest with your own audience and say, hey, listen, we are in a better place right now. I think right now is probably a good time for an exit plan. If we need one final strike to put our point across, that's fine. But there's no doubt we're in a better spot. And it should say something to you as well that China, the CCP, declared enemies of the United States. They may put on a good face, but everybody knows what they're up to. We're the ones involved in pressuring Iran to cut a deal too. Why would China, who hates us, pressure Iran to cut a deal? Because they're getting their asses kicked. Who? The Iranians? Yeah, but I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about China. What do you mean China's getting their asses kicked? Folks, who do you think provided Iran with a lot of this military detection technology that failed miserably? China. They have been humiliated on the international and global stage as a reliable military industrial partner. They get their oil, a good portion of it, from that region. We don't. We get a small sliver of it. If we lost and Trump, Taco or this other bullshit, if he lost, why is China telling the Iranians, man, please make a deal? Does that sound like a loss to you? Are you crazy? And by the way, that tariff post he put out this morning about if you support the Iranian military machine, instant tariffs, what did it say, 100% just came out before I came on the air? That was directed at China. Because why? Trump, watch him, Justin, watch him freak out again. You believe it? 100% tariff. I can't believe. Guys, please rewind the show. Please go back and rewind. Negotiate, escalate, maximalist position, settle at a new baseline. One more time for the idiots in the media. Negotiate, escalate, maximalist position, settle at a new baseline. You got it? You need me to write it down on Dan Bongino Show letterhead? We don't actually have that. But if we had some. Folks, their energy infrastructure is everything, the Iranians. But it's not just everything to the Iranians. It's what funds their military theocracy and their terror regime. It is also everything to China and regional partners in the area who get a lot of their oil to power their economies from that region. Trump has the ultimate, pun intended, Trump card. If he takes out Karg Island and their energy infrastructure, the Iranians, China, and all of those oil partners on the Iranian side that are doing business with Iran for oil are screwed. I'm going to take a quick break, and I'm going to show you what I mean on the other side of this break with a quick 30-second clip about exactly how bad of a spot the Iranians in. Oh, the Doomers told us we're getting our asses kicked. I'm really sorry you listened to them. I am. I'm really sorry if you got suckered by them and you're all depressed. Depressed over a massive military victory at this point. Folks, as you know, I'm not really a big gambler, but I've been having a lot of fun looking at marketplace predictions for everything from politics to sports. And the place I go is Kalshi, Kalshi. It's where I get the best insights on predictions. From sports to politics to finance or any variety of markets people are monitoring, check out Kalshi, Kalshi. Kalshi.com is a bookmark you need. Check it out today. I featured them in my last election special. They were absolutely spot on. Our president was elected as predicted. Kalshi.com is one of the only places where you can trade on real-world events in all 50 states. Go to Kalshi.com/Bongino and get a free $10 credit when you trade $100. And it's not just politics or economics. They've got markets on everything from sports to pop culture to climate predictions. Kalshi has a pulse on what the world thinks will happen. Go to Kalshi.com/Bongino, Kalshi.com/Bongino, Kalshi. Check it out and get a free $10 credit when you trade $100. That's Kalshi.com/Bongino. You must be 21 and the purchaser must be present in the state where the trade is placed. See important disclosures at Kalshi.com. Kalshi is subject to U.S. regulatory oversight by the CFTC. Thank you, Kalshi. Check it out, Kalshi.com/Bongino. So here's a quick clip by Trey Yingst, who's done some incredible reporting for Fox News over there discussing exactly the Iranian energy problem they have now. The Iranian energy problem is a money problem for Iran if they can't sell their oil. They don't have anything else. What do you think? They have a vibrant entertainment market, a vibrant software business? They have zero. That is their only economic key to survival. And other countries that need that Iranian oil. This is a huge Trump card. Check this out.
A senior Israeli defense official telling me just now the Islamic regime's greatest vulnerability is energy. They describe the energy system in Iran as the Achilles heel for the Islamic Republic because roughly 50% of Iran's GDP is based on their energy program. And this is part of the reason that the president is focusing his threats on the energy infrastructure inside of Iran. The president understands that when it comes to the Iranian regime, the two things that are keeping this regime afloat are their energy infrastructure that is used to funnel money to the IRGC and the weapons that are currently being used against U.S. forces and allies across the region, and the oil infrastructure. And as Fox can confirm, overnight, dozens of U.S. strikes targeted Kharg Island, where 90% of Iran's oil exports are located. This gives you a sense that the United States is looking once again to send a final message to the Iranian regime. The president on Truth Social just moments ago sending a final message to the Iranian regime.
Yeah, he sure has. And certainly we were talking about an escalation of significance here. And as you
RW says in the chat, Dan, try and explain logic to liberals may be a waste of time. Folks RW, I appreciate your comments, but you're right and wrong. Yes, explaining logic to people who choose to be stupid on purpose, which is sadly a good portion of the liberal progressive movement. They choose to be dumb. They don't want to be smarter. They don't want to be informed. They're not interested. They could just go to an AI app and check the data and find out they're wrong. Thank you. There we go. Good call. However, here's where you're wrong. The reason it's not a waste of time, and the P1s, you know this. I learned this running for office in a deep blue state. I mean, a deep blue state. When you're arguing or debating with liberals and you make principled, fact-based choices, there's always a third party listening. It's that person, not the liberal you're debating for. That's what this is about. There are impressionable third parties out there who don't want to be stupid. I promise you. A good portion. That's why this audience has stayed consistently large over 10 years. I'm convinced, because we don't get into current things and bullshit. But thank you for the comment. You're right, half right. Folks, this is who we're dealing with, by the way. When the left was busy yesterday, again, the intentionally stupid left, pretending Donald Trump was guilty of a war crime that didn't even happen. It was a true social post and wouldn't have been a war crime to begin with. Attacking infrastructure used for military purposes is not a war crime. You just made that up. You know what is a war crime? Using civilian human shields at military targets to get them killed. Well, who did that? The United States? I mean, the media said Donald Trump was guilty of war crimes. No, the Iranians. There was an actual war crime. Here's video of it, by the way, in Iranian state media. You can look yourself. This is why I'm telling you, the left-wing media and liberals, RW, you're right. You are correct about this. That is a waste of time. They want to be stupid. They could have just played this video and been like, hey, guys, Donald Trump is not really committing a war crime. Keep in mind, he didn't even do it. What he said was going to happen. It may, but attacking infrastructure used for military purposes it's a war tactic. It's not even close to a war crime. They could have pointed this out. But they chose not to because they want to be stupid. They revel in stupidity. It's like pigs love slop. Why do they love slop? I don't know. It feels good. Like stupid, they revel in stupid because stupid just feels good. Here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. I am so sick of this loser in Congress. This guy is an absolute zero. Ro Khanna is a Democrat fraud, fake, phony. Even if you're a Democrat, I'm telling you, this guy is a fraud. He was a huge censorship guy right around J6. Enormous. Go look it up. Wanted everybody censored. And then when he realized that the winds were turning on censorship, all of a sudden he pretended to be some Democrat free speech warrior. This guy is full of shit. He's doing some media tour. He got wrecked yesterday by Martha McCallum, by the way, just annihilated on her show. He looked like a moron. Here he is on CNBC, just spouting total bullshit. Ro Khanna knows the Iranians still have nuclear material. He knows that. But he starts trying to credit Obama for the failed JCPOA, the plan of action, the bullshit Iran deal. He's just lying about it. 97%. Really? I don't care if it's 1% in a nuclear suitcase headed to the border in the United States. That's kind of a big deal, no? What's that line from the movie, was it The Sum of All Fears? I'm not concerned with someone who has 1,000 nuclear weapons. I'm concerned with someone who only has one. You get the point? Even CNBC's like, Ro, you believe the Iranians? Like they lie about everything. He doesn't believe the Iranians. He chooses to be stupid. Check this out.
The enriched uranium is still buried underneath. We haven't gotten rid of it. Obama had gotten rid of 97% of that enriched uranium.
But we don't know exactly what they were telling. Well, we know they weren't telling us the truth. We already know that from the missiles that they've launched. We know that from other things, that basically they've been lying all along.
Folks, this is CNBC, okay? It's not Fox News. The CNBC host there is not some diehard conservative. Even she's trying to tell this imbecile, and RW, you're right, like arguing with this moron who chooses to be a liar and stupid is a waste of time. But the third parties watching this, the Iranians did not get rid of their nuclear material. They did not. Yes, Midnight Hammer destroyed their facilities, but the material is still out there. He knows that. He chooses to be stupid publicly. They've lied about everything. Their nuclear program, their ballistic missiles. He chooses to be stupid, but you don't. You don't. You wouldn't be here. It's frustrating. It really is, having to constantly course correct these idiots. And while fully understanding, they could just do this themselves. We have this healthy, vibrant, robust internet we didn't have when I was growing up. Folks, I'm 51, okay? I'm not young anymore. I'm not that old, but I'm not young. I've lived a half a century. We did not have the internet when I grew up. Remember, folks, you remember in the chat, where'd you get your sports scores in the morning? The freaking newspaper, or you turned on the radio and you had to wait for the sports report to see if the Yankees won when I grew up in New York. You didn't just pop on a smartphone. There were no smartphones. When I grew up, we had the rotor phone. Remember the rotor thing? But that's what we grew up with. My mother could dial that thing really fast. You choose, if you take these ridiculous Ro Khanna positions right now, I want you to understand, liberals, this is directed at you. You choose to be stupid. It is a choice to be dumb. I'm going to go a little out of order, Justin. Sorry. I was going to put this at the end of the show, but I got to put it here. And I'll get to the Florida video too. I debated putting this in the show, but I promise we got a lot ahead. That Congressman McBride, can you put up the tweet? This is what it looks like to be deliberately stupid. This is a different congressman. Sarah McBride. Congressman McBride says, in a political career defined by grotesque statements, this president's horrifying, illegal, and genocidal threat this morning is the most dangerous and appalling. She notes, it's a Congressman McBride. It's a man, right? Well, he notes, you can't shout fire in a crowded theater, and the president cannot be allowed to threaten genocide with the United States military. And she goes on to some other bullshit about war crimes. Keep that up just 1 second. This is a congressman, a United States congressman, just like Ro Khanna, who chooses to be stupid. Because Congressman McBride could just go to the interwebs and actually look up if the First Amendment standard is, can you shout fire in a crowded theater? Put up the Atlantic article, please. I'll show you that first. If you really want a thorough breakdown of it, the Atlantic's a pretty left-wing paper, but this article is really good by Jeff Kosef. We've used it 1,000 times. Hat tip producer Jim. I knew when he saw this yesterday because we just covered it on the show. We'll put this out there. America's favorite flimsy pretext for limiting free speech. Accusing people of shouting fire in a crowded theater isn't sufficient grounds for regulating what they say. Now, all Congressman McBride had to do, because he chooses to be dumb, is go to like Google Gemini or one of their favorite left-wing AI generators and just put in, tell me about for the First Amendment and fire at a movie theater. So I did it for the congressman. The case is an overturned precedent, overturned by Brandenburg versus Ohio, which set a higher bar. Speech can only be suppressed if it incites imminent lawless action. While a hypothetical analogy, it was likely influenced by real-life early 20th century panic events. Today, the phrase is recognized as a misunderstanding of current First Amendment law, which protects most speech unless it directly causes immediate panic or violence. They could have just looked that up. The congressman could have just looked it up. But we had to do the homework for them, right, Justin? Because RW, buddy, I love you. But there's a third party listening who I promise just learned something. You mean saying you can't shout fire in a movie theater is inaccurate when discussing the First Amendment? Yes. You could have just looked it up yourself. That's kind of like your job. I mean, know the Constitution and stuff like that. I mean, you're a congressman, right? It's true. A congressman is very confused about a lot of things. So that is a very good point. So they... One of these days we'll do Justin open mic Thursdays or Fridays or something, but I may have to put the show on tape delay. If you only knew. They choose to be dumb. You have this amazing tool. Look, I have it right here. I have two. I have the Dan Bongino show tablet, the Dan Bongino smartphone. You can actually do this, Congressman. Look, it's right there on the desk with the lean and all the other stuff. You can actually go and look this stuff up too. You understand now why I was chatting with a friend of mine in the commentary space. You all know. I'll leave his name out of it because it was a private conversation. But we were chatting about my time at the FBI, and he said, listen, I appreciate you going in there. It must be tough to work in the administration, be so vocal as a commentator before, and then basically have to stay quiet while a bunch of assholes just lie about you. And I said, it was hard. There's no doubt. They still do. Nothing happened. And then you list out like 20 and 30, 40 things that happened, and they just ignore it. You have to balance that with this tendency to kind of over-explain, because then you sound defensive. And believe me, I'm not. I'm extremely proud of what we did. And you guys can go look at them. I'm not going to waste your time with resumes on the show. It's just bullshit. It is. You guys are here for other stuff. But I did say, you guys, what frustrates me the most is you can actually go look this stuff up. Like what happened while we were there. You can go look this stuff up. But there are people out there who would lie to you on purpose. Here's what I mean. This guy, I saw this on, sometimes if I'm looking for material, I'll go through other news aggregators, especially far left ones, because I want to see the narrative they're trying to put out there. Remember, the left always wants to tell you a story, not the story. Those are not the same thing. A story is typically a BS narrative. The story is the truth. So I saw this yesterday on Drudge. It was a Substack by Ken Klippenstein, and it's about something we did at the FBI. I promise you I'm not going to bore you with a lot of but this is important because this involves not just my time there, but this involves the future of the surveillance state in the United States. You should read this piece if you get a moment. Ken Klippenstein, April 5th, 2026, exclusive. FBI's new political pre-crime center. Are your views on the list of domestic terrorism indicators? Now, I kind of worked there and was the leader of this project. You're like the pre-crime project? You had Tom Cruise in there again, just like at the beginning of the show, doing the finger thing on Minority Report. It was incredible. We had the precogs. They all had names, right? There were like 3 of them or something. They were floating in the basement of the Hoover building where all the concrete's falling off the ceiling because lawmakers couldn't figure out what to do with the freaking FBI headquarters. Yeah, we had them in the basement. And of course, I'm being sarcastic. Folks, what we did was we dismantled, in effect, what was a politically driven left-wing effort to weaponize the FBI and to use like MAGA hats as indicators of who to investigate. I was there. You know how many briefings we did on this? We dismantled that whole thing. We got rid of entire chunks of the FBI that were doing that stuff. And we did not make it a pre-crime center, Ken Klippenstein. I don't know who the hell you're talking to. We actually codified and made crystal clear that we are not targeting anyone for their First Amendment protected political beliefs. You're just pissed off that this new FBI, at least, is not going after people who wear MAGA hats. So you use these catchy titles, a pre-crime center. Are you a domestic terrorist because you put something in a Reddit blog about how you didn't like Donald Trump? Bullshit. You're totally making that up. How many times I told you on the show in the, 3 months we've been back now? That was my primary concern, is protecting people's civil liberties. And I was very honest with you. that there is a trade-off there. You want absolute security? Yes. Have the FBI buy 1,000 surveillance products. We can just tap into your phone with no-touch malware. I don't want that. And you shouldn't either. The downside to that is occasionally if people secrete themselves in society enough and don't leave enough footprints around and don't tell anyone they're going to commit an attack, there are going to be people that slip through. That's the hard truth. You want absolute security? Forfeit all your liberty. I'm not doing that. And that article is bullshit. There's no pre-crime center. Nobody's being monitored without a proper predicate. You're totally full of shit. Show me a case where we just illegally started some investigation on someone because they said, I don't like Donald Trump. You can't. You're making it up. However, we had examples of people who've done that before. Folks, this stuff worries me. I really am concerned about the explosion in surveillance technology. I was concerned while I was there too. We put in hardcore guardrails against us being able, our federal government, to surveil you. Why? Because there's going to be at some point in government, it's inevitable, there is going to be some change in leadership. I hope it's not in the midterms. I hope it's not in 2028. But pretending like Democrats will never get power again ever is not realistic. They will. And I worry about it because the guy who's going to run for president, Gavin Newsom, his wife, who's become a total liability, you may have seen this clip. This is mainstream thinking on the left. Forget about her and Newsom for a minute. This is mainstream thinking on the left, that there are bad ideas out there that need to be censored. These were the people who were running the FBI and elsewhere before we made the changes away from the pre-crime stuff he talked about. They will be back in charge one day. And I promise, no matter how many agencies you create, how many people you fire, they are going to get new people back in there that think about censorship the exact way Gavin Newsom's wife does, or the first partner, whatever she wants to call herself. Check this out.
Like every problem that we have in society right now will be fixed when women come together and partner with our male allies and other allies. But when more women are in the rooms making decisions, changing the status quo and transforming not just our culture, but our society and our economy. I'll give you one example. Look at tech at Silicon Valley. Had more women been early on in those companies or at the tables of power making decisions, I don't think we would have so much or have allowed for so much sort of bigotry, racism, misogyny, and hate online. I don't think that we would have the anonymity of it. I think that there would have been ooh, that's unkind. That's not okay. You can't make money off of that, about dividing people, misinforming people, belittling people, bullying people. I mean, again, think about who's the victims online more often than not. It's women, LGBTQ+, marginalized communities, women of color.
Hat tip to Great Maze Moore for pulling that. Folks, forget her for a minute. Forget Newsom. I know they're easy targets. I promise you, having spent a significant amount of my financial and political capital investing in free speech platforms, whether it's Parallel Economy or Rumble or elsewhere, for people, frankly, many of them, I addressed it yesterday with Scott Jennings, who hate my guts. It's okay. You're allowed to hate my guts. I'll provide you a platform for doing it where you're safe to do that. I'll invest in a platform for you to go and say whatever you want about me. I mean, listen, you can't break the law. You can't threaten like a terror attack or anything like that. But as long as you comply with the terms of service, I'm really glad that there are people out there who can use these platforms where you don't have to worry about people who invest in them, like getting their draws in a bunch and, we're not into that. That is the left. When they get back in charge, you better be really careful about the surveillance tools you give them because, folks, I'm telling you, I lived it. I'm not sure you have any idea how powerful the technology out there is to watch almost every single thing you do. You leave a digital footprint everywhere with these devices you carry around with you. Everywhere. Oh, I put it in airplane. Good luck. We have important choices coming up, folks. Those choices are there. And it is your choice if you are a disaffected MAGA Republican who ignored the last year of the Trump presidency, and you're one of these doomer people who thinks everything is awful. I don't know where you're getting that from, but even if it was true, it is not. You have a choice. The Jennifer Newsom censorship left crowd, the Minnesota, California Medicare fraud crowd, the out-of-control government debt crowd, the Ro Khanna, Iran, they got rid of their nuclear stuff. They are choosing to be stupid. You have a choice. Please choose wisely. The Republicans may not be the solution to all your problems in the midterms, but the Democrats are the cause of your problems. I have zero doubt about that. Play the CBS clip. Do you know what this must take for CBS? Folks, there's been some changes there, but it's still CBS, okay? Here is CBS doing a story on, again, a massive payload of fraud coming out of California because of a state run by Democrats' insistence on stealing your money and giving it to people who don't deserve it. Check this out.
Ongoing CBS News investigation into fraud in the hospice industry. Our investigative unit found some potential red flags when hospice doctors submitted claims for more than 20 times the number of patients the average California doctor cares for in a year. CBS News correspondent Adam Yamaguchi hit the road to follow the money.
The state of California says that if a doctor is involved with any more than even just a few hospices, it is a sign of potential fraud. At the heart of the industry are doctors who are trusted to sign off on care. But in records for the active physicians caring for terminal patients, one stands out. A man whose name appeared on claims from 126 hospices and had 60% more in Medicare reimbursements than the next closest doctor in 2024. The last full year of available data. Dr. Rajiv Buva. My name is Adam Yamaguchi. I'm a correspondent with CBS News, and we're doing a story about hospice, and we're just trying to understand how often he's here.
I didn't see him in a long time.
In a long time.
I didn't see him in a long time. That's weird. This guy's supposedly seeing all these patients and managing the place. How do you not see him in a long time? How does that work? How does that work? It's CBS, folks. It's CBS doing this. I told you going forward. Listen, bookmark the show. The price of Democrat and liberal stupidity going forward is going to be very, very high. Folks, the media ecosystem with, again, Nick Shirley and Cam Higbee and others out there doing entrepreneurial independent journalism. You've had O'Keefe doing it forever. It's going to get really, really hard to pretend the welfare state works going forward. You're going to see outlets like CBS and NBC and others that are going to be embarrassed into covering this. Why? Because it's going to be so nuclear online that to not cover it is going to be so obvious, it's going to result in a black mark even for these left-wing activist organizations. I promise. You're already seeing it. You can't hide the welfare state. This is, again, what upsets me about a portion of people who pretend to be in our movement who constantly crap on the Trump administration, pretending nothing's happening. There have been hundreds of arrests out of Minnesota. There have been boatloads of arrests out of California. Those are just the federal ones. So I saw it circulating around online yesterday. Oh, yeah, well, they're closing down a lot of these investigations. What are you talking about? The acting attorney general, Todd Blanche, just gave a presser yesterday and laid out the number of active investigations that are going on into this massive government fraud. What do you think the number was? 80, 100, 200. The number he threw out there was 8,000 when he gave a presser with Colin McDonald, the new AAG, who's going to be in charge of this J.D. Vance-led effort on national government fraud. Here, listen to yourself. Check this out.
The Department of Justice is holding criminals accountable for stealing over $500 million from taxpayers. And across our U.S. attorney's offices, all over this country, we currently have over 8,000 fraud matters underway. Unfortunately, as you've heard a lot about recently, because it's true, these cases represent a fraction of the fraud ripping off our country every day. Thanks to the leadership of President Trump, this department, working closely with the task force to eliminate fraud, is supercharging efforts to take down every fraudster and bring them to justice.
I don't understand. You think the Vice President of the United States, who unlike border czar Kamala Harris, who never actually went to the border and did jack squat and Jack left town, you think J.D. Vance, a smart, savvy political leader this is his big job right now, root out government fraud using the government's investigative capabilities and prosecutorial capabilities. You think J.D. Vance is sitting on his ass? Nothing's happening. No, it is happening. You just talked about it. You're just trying to disenfranchise people before the midterms. I'm not going to let it happen. Thankfully, we've got an enormous audience to spread the word, an even bigger audience online. You're just making that up. Folks, we can't continue to dole out money in wheelbarrows out the door to fake doctors, fake medical clinics, fake, Learning centers? Can't even spell learning center right. We can't afford it. We are in a really perilous national debt situation. And yes, both Republican and Democrat Congresses, the Senate, presidents, state level leadership, when it comes to state debt, have contributed to the problem. Don't at me, bro. I get it. You are correct. It is not exclusively a Democrat problem. However, the only person to do something about the exploding national potential bankruptcy problem through our national debt has been Donald Trump. The only person. He's pared down the government workforce. He gave Elon Musk basically free reign with Doge to go and look at the government books. We had a Doge guy in there early on, found a whole bunch of stuff. We had some subscriptions to magazine outlets no one had opened in years. I was like, how much is that? Oh, a couple $100,000. I'm like, what? Here's Elon Musk talking about the extent of the government debt problem. And I want you to pay attention to this. This is important. Our government debt, both on and kind of off the books when it comes to entitlements, at our current GDP, we are de facto bankrupt. At our current GDP levels, we're never going to be able to pay it off. Elon's correct with the math. But he brings up an interesting point I've discussed with you many times. I hope you remember that if we can bump our GDP growth up and give ourselves a national raise, we can grow our way out of this. Now it's not so much a race against the numbers, it's a race against time. We have to get to this AI quantum revolution where we get to huge growth rates before that day of reckoning comes and people start to call in the debt. Here's Elon explaining exactly this point. Check this out.
What was the point of the Doge cuts if the economy is going to grow so much?
Well, I think waste and fraud are not good things to have, I was actually pretty worried about, I guess, I think in the absence of AI and robotics, we're actually totally screwed because the national debt is piling up like crazy. Now, our interest payments, the national debt exceed the military budget, which is $1 trillion. So we have over $1 trillion just in interest payments. That was I was like, okay, pretty concerned about that. Maybe if I spend some time, we can slow down the bankruptcy of the United States and give us enough time for the AI and robots to, help solve the national debt. Or not help solve. It's the only thing that could solve the national debt. We are 1,000% going to go bankrupt as a country and fail as a country without AI and robots. Nothing else will solve the national debt.
I want to just use a quick analogy on this. If you were to buy a house and go into debt, like the United States is in debt, and the mortgage payments, you can only afford the interest payments every month, and then you start falling behind on that, the interest gets piled into the principal, which becomes additive as interest payments start to pile up because the interest is being added back to the principal. You will never, ever be able to pay that house off unless what happens? unless you get a massive raise. Elon is correct. AI, quantum, massive growth productivity effects of that, which you're going to start to see filter into the economy. If we can get there quick enough, will give us enough of a national raise we can get out ahead of this. Because the numbers, I saw Dave Schweikert put this up, this tweet. The numbers, folks, are staggering. They are really hard to comprehend. He notes the national debt is 38 trillion, basically 39 trillion. The growth rate on it is absurd. And then he quote tweets, total gross national debt, 39 trillion relative to 1 year ago, 2.77 trillion higher relative to 5 years ago, 10.9 trillion higher. Folks, if we don't grow our way out of this, there is no way out. That is why these midterms are so important. At least you've got a guy in the White House right now that recognizes the problem, and he's trying to, as Elon said, use things like paring down the workforce, DOGE cuts, government efficiency enhancements to at least buy some time. It is incredibly important that we do that. And we have the right system in place. You hear people crapping on capitalism all the time. I see these young people in love with Zoran Mamdani and AOC. By the way, when they're on their, fancy iPhones with their Beats headphones and run around, like, who do you think invented that? The Soviets? I get really tired of this, shitting on economic liberty and freedom as if you ever grew up in a different system and have a comparative model. If you grew up in the Soviet Union, trust me, you would not be a communist. There was an interesting piece in the Wall Street Journal about this. I used to bring this up years ago because this happened in the Reagan era when the economy exploded. People used to say, the middle class is shrinking under Reagan. And they were right. They were right, Dan. I thought you just said capitalism works. The middle class was shrinking during the Reagan era because the middle class were moving into the upper middle class and getting richer. They left that part out. Oh, looky here, Jason Riley piece in the Wall Street Journal. It's happening again. I thought capitalism sucks. Riley notes in 1979, the upper middle class was 10% of all families. By 2024, it was 31%. So yeah, the American middle class is shrinking because they're getting richer. Those are just data, folks. To the young men and women who listen to my show, RW, this is why I put this stuff out there, who listen to Mamdani. Capitalism has failed. Everybody's going broke. Country sucks. The middle class is shrinking. It is. You are correct. Because they're getting richer. That's why. You can look at the data just like I did. You can go to Google Gemini or your favorite AI aggregator. You can look it up too. It's not hard. You just don't want to. Because you want to be stupid. My audience doesn't want that. All right, let me get to this Florida video. And let me just warn you in advance, even though it's been blacked out, the really horrific portions of this video. The video is an attack by a person who came into the country illegally, was given protective status. Put up the Malugin tweet first, give you a little background, probably do it that way better. That way you're prepared. You may not be ready for this. If you're not, I understand. I have Vince Colonnese coming up next, so if you want to take a 2-minute break, I get it. The video is pretty horrifying, and I debated putting it on the air, but folks, sometimes we all need a little shock treatment, and we need to see the consequences of the actions of the Biden administration on the open border. The subject in this video, the suspect being charged with murder at a gas station in Fort Myers, Florida, bludgeons this woman to death with a hammer. Malugin notes the suspect in the case is a Haitian illegal alien who was caught and released at the border by the Biden administration in 2022. An immigration judge ordered the subject deported from the U.S. later that same year, but DHS, under the Biden administration, shielded him from deportation by granting him TPS, temporary protected status, which expired in 2024. Brings back the point I've made often, that yes, not every single person who enters the country illegally, even though you broke the law, will go on to commit additional crimes, because you committed a crime and you shouldn't be here, period. Stop. However, this individual in this video should not have been here at all. That's the point. That's the point. Once we get control of the illegal immigration situation, the crime rate will drop. We do not need to add people to the country as a magnet for people, many of whom couldn't hack it in their own country, and some of them may be fugitives in their own country. Here is the video. This is really tough to watch. Yeah, I mean, folks, I'm sorry to have to play this, but this is just, we can't just continue to ignore this stuff and go, I don't want to see it. Sometimes you just have to see it. I want to bring up 2 quick points on this. Folks, upwards of 75 to 80% of the violent crime. You see this guy now walking up. Look, he can't believe what he's seeing. He's looking around. He can't believe this is real. It's so horrifying. Upwards of 80% of the violent crime committed, I want you to remember this, is committed by easily less than 5% of the population, closer to 1% of the population. So say 1 out of 100 people in a town commit 80% of the violent crime. Here's the kicker. Those subjects, on average, were arrested 8 to 12 times. So this person, if he isn't caught, well, was he? We get it now, was caught. But if he wasn't, would probably go out to commit more crimes. Once you get rid of those people, your crime rate, just like we did at the FBI, we had the best year ever on violent crime. It's just a fact. Doomers, you can talk all the shit you want. You're never going to get past that. We had the best year ever. The murder rate was the lowest in U.S. history. The crime rate dropped off the face of the earth because we targeted that 1%. Why would you add to that 1% by allowing lawbreakers into the country illegally at the border? Why? We have an immigration process. You know what it's called? The immigration process. Why would you let people in who are prone to breaking the law? If you know even a small portion of them are going to go on to commit potentially 5 to 10 to 15 violent crimes. Absolutely unforgivable. I got Vince Colanese coming up in a minute. Going to take a quick break. You're not going to want to miss that. If you want to check him out, by the way, he's at rumble.com/Vince every morning at 8 a.m. He's one of my good friends. And what we do is he comes on my show every other Wednesday, and then I go on his radio show. We flip back and forth. I really enjoy his content. So throw up that. I'd love to tell you what it is, but I blew the ad thing off the screen. So I don't know. You have to surprise us. Who is it here? Let's see. Oh, Helix. Love Helix. I was a good surprise. They give me a little thing there. I got a good night's sleep last night. I feel pretty good today. You can probably tell by the energy of the show. Can you tell when I don't get a good night's sleep? It's rare. I sleep on a Helix mattress. So does the team inside. They love them. You know that feeling when spring rolls in? You suddenly want to fix everything in your house, clean up the old spring cleaning. Folks, start by engaging in the greatest life hack ever. You know what it is? Good sleep. No, I'm not kidding. You take all the supplements, everything you want in the world. The greatest life hack of all is good sleep. Get rid of your old mattress, eliminate lower back pain, stop tossing and turning at night, and do it with Helix, Helix. Paula and I just recently upgraded our Helix mattress. It's really helped with back pain and a good night of sleep for us. It really matters. My sleep tracker, I wear one of those sleep trackers. I love it. I get the data. Helix makes a big difference in my life. Here's the thing. Helix doesn't just make a mattress. They've got over 20 models, so you can actually get one built for how you sleep. You don't just go into a mattress store, like jump on for 10 seconds. Go online at Helix's website and check it out. I have 20 different models of mattress. Mine has a perfect mix of support and softness, so my back isn't screaming at me every morning. Delivery is really easy, shows up at your door. Free shipping and a 120-night trial. A lifetime warranty, too. That's how confident they are in their product. That's really good stuff. So do it for yourself. Go to helixsleep.com/Dan for 20% off site-wide. That's HELIX, helixsleep.com/Dan for 20% off site-wide. And make sure you enter our show name after checkout so they know we sent you. Again, the website, helixsleep.com/Dan. Welcoming back to the show for his second appearance on what's going to be a regular cycle, our good friend Vince Colanese. If you'd like to see more of Vince, you can every day at rumble.com/Vince. He is live at 8 a.m. Talked yesterday, Vince, with Scott Jennings about the value of live content. You know, it wasn't one of my intended questions, but, you know, with all the AI slop and garbage out there yesterday, being live with that community you have every morning at 8 a.m., people know it's you. because it's live and it's not AI
Yes.
slop, you know?
And you've got to do it live. It's funny. I think some of my radio affiliates across the country yesterday maybe were a little annoyed with me. A couple of our stations don't carry me live. They carry me on delay. But I said on the program yesterday, guys, the reason why it's so important for the content to be live is the news changes too quickly. Dan, if you record something an hour before it airs, even that is perilous. That's like, whoa, wait a second. The news may change dramatically. This is just the world in which we live. It moves so quickly, thanks to Donald Trump especially. You've just got to be live. And that's why I think it's so valuable. It's so cool we can do this on Rumble every day.
It is. And, Vince and I are friends, so we talk a lot, not on the air, obviously. And we always mention this, how the Trump news cycle, I try to do show prep like you the day before because it takes a long time. I mean, I do about an hour and 20 to an hour and 50 of content. It's always like the rule is like times 2. And that's if you know what you're doing, if you know where to go for sources. If not, it can take 6-7 hours. So you're talking about like 4 hours of prep, which is about right. You have to do it the day before, but then you go to bed and you wake up in the morning and I get to the studio at about 8 o'clock. And there's like 5 or 6 stories. You're like, oh, shit, I missed this one too. So
I knew yesterday was a day like this, Dan, because we knew the 8 p.m. deadline was coming, right? So the 8 p.m. deadline's coming, and I kind of had a hunch about how it was going to go. Actually, it went exactly the way I expected it would go, but that's because I've seen Donald Trump operate in the past. But having said that, I had prepared all sorts of content just before the 8 p.m. deadline. I had everything. I had here's what's coming next. And I knew, I was like, this is all going to be blown up. What am I doing all this for? Because by the time 8 o'clock turns, we'll have a brand new news cycle.
Do you do what I do, though? Because you don't know what's going to happen. Your show wraps, your radio show wraps at 3 p.m. So there's obviously a 5-hour gap between the Trump deadline at 8 p.m. What I do is I'll leave a blank portion in the show in my notebook, and I'll have like an if-then. If we do take care of business and knock out ports and bridges, this is where we're going to go. And if he does, I have to prepare a bunch of if-then equations, like it's a Commodore 64 from the 80s to do it. But you kind of segued into my first, unintentionally, into my first question, which is, we were kind of chatting about this a little before, how the media is just intentionally ignorant about this. Trump does this all the time. If you have followed Trump like you and I have for close to 10 years now,
yes,
Trump negotiates. If he doesn't get what he wants, he takes a maximalist position. Armageddon, read 100% tariffs. He then backs off the position on a better and more kind of elevated, more responsive baseline than when he started. There's no Iranian mullahs, ballistic missile capabilities are damaged, drone capabilities are damaged. He does this all the time, and the media pretends they don't know what he's doing because they want him to look chaotic and basically disorganized.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of factors. One, there's sinister people who clearly know the way this goes because they've watched the context for long enough. They've been around as long as you and I have, and they know how Donald Trump operates. Also, there's wet behind the ears idiots who are being elevated to positions in journalism where they shouldn't be, and because they couldn't get a better paying job. And they're doing this and they just don't know. They're like, oh my God, Trump's going to blow up an entire civilization? No, stupid. Let me walk you through this. In 2017, he's got a big problem with North Korea. Right? North Korea, one of the big overriding themes of President Trump's concern, his entire presidency, every time, as long as he's been in politics, is nuclear weapons. The guy grew up during the Cold War. He hates nuclear weapons. He says that forget global warming. I'm concerned about nuclear warming. So nuclear weapons are a big deal to him. Remember, President Obama left him a note when he came in office the first time. His big overriding concern was the nuclear weapon threat from North Korea. So by the time we get to fall of 2017, President Trump's sitting in an opioid meeting. And he says, North Korea, if you don't knock it off, I'm going to bring fire and fury like you've never seen before. The world has never seen, is what he promised. And guess what happened after that? He mitigated the nuclear threat from North Korea. The nuclear testing dropped. He opened up historic diplomacy with Kim Jong-un. The media was freaking out during that entire sequence, and the president kept his cool and he pursued it anyway. There were later reports, Dan, that President Trump threatened to bomb Moscow. He told Vladimir Putin that he was ready to bomb the capital city of Russia to get them to behave. And I've heard that actually from other sources too, that the president actually made that threat. So he makes these threats because, as you point out, he's making a maximalist claim. He's doing it in the service of a high stakes negotiation, and he always tacks to a negotiated middle. So when he says he's going to blow up an entire civilization, you know this guy. He cares about human life. The last thing he wants is some big power vacuum and more terrorism in the Middle East. He wants to settle up, and he wants to serve the American people.
But on the maximalist position he takes, 100% tariffs, civilization's going to be wiped out in Iran, North Korea, my nuclear button is bigger than yours. Remember that one? Like, the maximalist position only works because you don't know if he's bluffing or not. In other words, like, let's say he hadn't killed Soleimani, given the order to kill Soleimani, hadn't wiped out those Russian mercs on the Syrian battlefield, the Wagner Group folks back in his first term. If he hadn't went and ordered the military to swipe Maduro from freaking Venezuela, if he hadn't engaged in Midnight Hammer and these other Iranian war activities we've been involved in for the last 4 to 6 weeks, the maximalist position would not be an effective debating negotiation tactic. It only works because he is so freaking unpredictable. And when Putin hears like, hey, this guy could bomb Moscow, Putin's probably sitting there like, is he serious or not? Like, they don't really know. That's why it works.
You're right. He'll start the fight. Or at least he'll pick up the fight. If it's somebody's fighting against him, he's a counterpuncher, as you know. He'll hit you in the mouth a couple times. And then you're like, wait, is he really going to finish me off? Is he really going to kill me right now? Like, I don't know what this guy's going to do. And I'll just give you a couple of really clear examples of this. Here's one. Earlier this week, remember that big press conference he did? And when he said that there was a negotiation underway. J.D. Vance, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner were getting closer with Iran. But suddenly these guys report back to the president, hey, Mr. President, they're walking away from the table. They're breaking the deal here. And the president says, that's fine. Tell them it's okay. But then tell them, look out their window. And so they look out the window. He blows up the biggest bridge in Iran. So in other words, there's this weird kind of fascination on the left. They really want Trump to be weak and broken. They think he's insane. They also think he's a coward. Have you noticed that they want to, they basically every kind of terrible thing you can be, they ascribe to Trump. And they've been accusing him of chickening out. I don't know if you've probably seen this
the
on
taco.
They'll say,
yeah.
Taco, yeah. Trump always chickens out. No, actually, the real trend is Trump always chokes them out. Trump always grabs whoever his adversary is and puts them in a chokehold. And by the end of it, they're tapping out of this, which is what we're watching Iran do right now. Yesterday's breakthrough in these negotiations is seismic. It's historic. The president achieved something that for 47 years was impossible, and he did it with high-stakes negotiation and a very intense focus on the goal.
What's your take on the fissure within the Republican Party, or the media, I think, inflamed fissures within the Republican Party over war? There are very few, when we have this Republican Party, you've been doing media, especially radio, for a long time, so you listen to callers and everything. We're not Democrats. We're not automatons. We have a real diversity of opinion on, and we're all good on the Second Amendment, free speech. We get all that, taxes. But when it comes to things like, especially like foreign interventions in war, there's a good, healthy debate within the party. You got the old school conservatives. You've got the libertarian wing. You've got the conservatarians. You've got MAGA. You've got the old Bushy crowd. There's a really diverse group of opinions in there, and that's a good thing. But I think the media is really exaggerating the fissures over this. Number one, it's only been a couple of months. Second, we're already in a ceasefire. Whether it works or not, we don't know. We'll see. Mm-hmm. But if this was a prolonged war like Iraq, which I think overall, in the end, there were some good things and some bad things that came out of the Iraq war. I think that would be correct. I think the fissures would be Grand Canyon-like.
Right.
But the poll data doesn't seem to indicate a really wide kind of chasm in the Republican Party right now. I think it's just the media trying to make that happen.
I think you're right about all of that. I think what's happening is that there are, as you point out, there's actually legitimate debate that happens on the right, which I really enjoy. And especially the further we are away from an election, the more reasonable it is to have those debates in public, because, it's really about determining what does the future look like for our country and what do we all believe in. And then as we get closer to an actual election, we got to get our act together and defeat the left every time. But when it comes to this issue, the reason why there is a diversity of opinion is because, you experienced this at the FBI. We have institutions with crappy reputations. The reputations that they have are the result of their betrayal of the American people on a routine basis. So when you go in as deputy director, you're the inheritor of a crappy reputation established by abuses of power. The same is true with the military establishment in our country. People went through Afghanistan and Iraq. They saw the betrayals. They saw the power vacuums, the terrorism that arose from it, the loss of blood and treasure. And so our instincts are now attuned to say, I'm kind of against that reflexively. I err on the side of I don't want to be involved at all. So if you ask the average American voter, Trump voter, before this, if we should go into Iran right now, chances are they'd probably have said no. But here's the difference. They trust the president. The president made this decision on a rational basis. He decided that the nuclear threat was meaningful, that Iran was building a conventional weapons arsenal to basically create a security blanket to prevent anybody from stopping them from redeveloping their nuclear threat that he bombed last year. And he said, now's the time. This is our window of opportunity. We have to strike. Let's resolve this problem once and for all. So what I'm actually seeing in the surveys, and I think what you're seeing, Dan, is just a lot of trust right now. Basically, people who are who don't want to be in any sort of long-lasting quagmire, which is the word the administration keeps using to describe what they're trying to avoid, and that they trust the president a great deal. This is what we should expect from American politicians. They don't, they should be able to, if at their best, if they're actually working for you, we give you the grace of trusting you to fulfill these missions. And I know the White House is cognizant of this. This is the reason why even today, Dan, as we're speaking, they're making a lot of statements to basically signal that they're done. This is it. They've met their primary goals. Now it's just a matter of working out some of the details with Iran. But the president kept his timeline of 4 to 6 weeks. They're very attuned to this. And I think this comes down to what extent do you trust the president to fulfill this vision?
Vince, your radio show is on at WMAL, one of the biggest, most influential stations in the country, because it's really the only solid conservative talker in D.C. So lawmakers listen to it because it's on their local radio. I know they do, because when I was on the station, they would tell me, hey, I'd get it from media people who are in the D.C. circuit too.
Yes.
It punches way, way, way above its weight. D.C. is not a particularly large city, but I think we can all agree it's very influential. I say that because, what you say on the radio matters. And I want to get your take on NATO. I had addressed this yesterday. My experience in the past year during the job I was in at the Bureau there is we produce, I'll undersell it a little bit to not be dramatic, probably 75% of the value with our international partners on the law enforcement, counter-espionage, counter-terror, and certainly on the warfare front. We're about 75% of the equation. We're probably more, but I don't want to be dramatic. I've seen it, and because I would ask for something and they can't produce it sometimes, but we can produce it back when they ask. And that was about 3/4 of the time. I think the American public is a little exhausted with international allies who become fair weather friends. I don't want to be dramatic. I read a piece of the Wall Street Journal where they are providing some stuff behind the scenes. They just don't want to publicly say it. But I think it's time that you're either publicly with us or you're against us. And if we're going to continue to take Americans' hard-earned money and become the global police force for Europe that's got threats right next to them. We got 2 oceans protecting us. I mean, that's not it's not a silo, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
You've got Russia over there. You've got, China not far away. You've got Iran with ballistic missiles that can reach you. It's time to act like it. You better start producing the money, the weaponry, the warfare, and the public backing where you guys are publicly behind us, or the American people are going to be like, hey, man, we're out. We're done.
I think Europe's just lost. I think they're rudderless. I don't think they actually know what they stand for. It's not even clear that they stand for their own people. We saw J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio over the course of 2 years give speeches of different tones but the same substance, which is Europe needs to rediscover its history and recommit to Western civilization. Because if it doesn't, everything collapses. I mean, it really matters a great deal that Europe protects its legacy. And, the civilization that gave us the Magna Carta. I mean, come on, we need to restore that. And that's not there right now. It's kind of a lost identity. And in that lost identity, I don't think they even really understand what NATO's for. I mean, once the Soviet Union collapsed, they just thought that NATO was going to be some sort of rescue operation for them consistently, and that they could just be a bunch of deadbeats. Now, as I know you mentioned on your show yesterday, there's, of course, examples when it came to after 9/11. We had NATO partners that were helping us.
Yeah.
That's all very valuable, and it's the kind of thing that they should do for sure. But here in this present moment, it has been just an atrocity that NATO hasn't stepped up to take care of concerns that are actually more immediate to them than they are to us. I mean, the Strait of Hormuz is responsible for so much of the world's energy, but fundamentally, most of that energy goes to that region. It goes to Europe. It goes to Asia. I mean, the reason China got involved reportedly in the deal yesterday to try and get Iran to the table is because 40% of their energy comes through the Strait of Hormuz. That's what induced them to get involved here. And so it's just disappointing, actually. It's just, I look at it and shake my head because President Trump has been fighting to strengthen that alliance, despite what the media tells you. He's got everybody there increasing their spending. Like the NATO secretaries general keep like absolutely praising President Trump for what he's done to restore that institution. And yet, even in all of the work he's done to make it better, they're still failing to respond to us, despite the fact that we will empty our stockpiles for them. We did that. You just heard from Pete Hegseth say it. The unfortunate thing is we sent all of our weapons to Ukraine, and now we're spending, you know, that big hundreds of billions of dollars package we just sent to Congress asking for more weaponry? The reason is because Biden emptied out all of our weapons for Ukraine, and we need them now in our conflict in Iran. And it's just crazy what's happening, and NATO should step up.
I'm glad you brought that up about China. I discussed that earlier in the show, how China is actually pushing for a deal here to get the strait open. China, no friend of NATO. I think we're all pretty clear on that. But that's just kind of strange, like a de facto kind of declared enemy of the United States. The CCP is like, hey guys, this would probably be better for the globe if we can get a deal done. And our NATO partners, I don't know, man. I'm not sure we want to come public with it. It's so absurd. Let me switch gears a little bit. You know, a topic that's always hot on the American agenda, probably led to Donald Trump's 2016 election and was a real kind of fire starter. Immigration. I played a video earlier in the show out of Florida, a horrifying video. I honestly debated even putting it on the air, but sometimes you just need kind of shock treatment for the audience, the part that's really unconvinced that illegal immigration is a problem. And I'm really tiring of this argument like, well, most of the people that come here illegally don't go on to break additional laws. Fine, even if that's true, I don't necessarily buy a lot of their data. But even if that's true, when one person does, like this illegal, was protected by the Biden administration, hammers some woman's face into, causing her horrific, tragic death, like that's enough for me. Like if you told me someone had a nuclear payload they were going to smuggle into the United States in a suitcase and they're going to come across the border illegally, we would shut the border tomorrow. Like this is the kind of stuff that happens when you let people in here who shouldn't be here. That woman should be alive.
Look. She'd be alive today if our borders were secure. Jocelyn Ungare, Laken Riley, Stephanie Minter, the names go on and on. These are all people who would be alive today if our borders were secure. And so what is the argument that the left is really making here? Like, it's just so insane. And it's insulting, actually, in a million different ways. One of the ones that they'll often make is they'll elide the difference between illegal and legal immigrants. And then they'll say something like, well, immigrants commit crimes at lower rates than American citizens. So what are you telling me? So even if I were to accept that as true, and it's not, it's a lie. But even if I were to accept that as true, so you're saying American citizens suck more? Is that really your argument? The American citizens are worse, so what are you complaining about? That's another way of saying we have enough of our own problems. Why do we have to import more? Again, it's entirely abusive. And the illegal immigrant crime rate is 100%. I love that the game is like, well, it's not. No, it's 100%. If you break our laws, it's 100%. I know this comes as a shock to Don Lemon, who doesn't think that illegally entering the country is illegal. It's illegal, which is another way of saying it's a crime. It's 100% crime rate to illegally immigrate into our country. And one of the realities here is, in addition to just people pouring into our country for a million different reasons, we've discovered that a lot of them are here for very sinister reasons, unfortunately. So in addition to breaking that fundamental law, you come in and then you're hurting American citizens and you're stabbing them to death in a bus stop. You're hammering them in the face. How about we get you the hell out of our country? And my preference would be to deport you into the sun. If we can get Elon Musk to do that, that'd be helpful. I can't take this anymore. I just think it's insane. It's obviously the reason President Trump was elected in big margins. We got too big to rig. Mass deportation was the priority. And, this, but one of the things that's been a source of great frustration for me for this whole Trump administration is the lack of awareness of the level of success we've had on subjects like this. So this is a stark reminder of the problems that Joe Biden and the left have created for our country. But imagine how much worse it would be if we hadn't deported 3 million people in the last year. 3 million people. And you might be like, Vince, we didn't deport 3. Yes, we did. We kicked out 3 million foreigners of our country over the last year. Nobody wants to talk about it except for us. I'll talk about it.
How many more did not come here as a magnet because they knew they would be deported? Honestly, probably another 5 million. So you're talking about, I mean, I can't prove a counterfactual, but those numbers are probably pretty close. And I had addressed earlier in the show that when you do the criminology mathematics on this stuff, about 1% of the population or so commits about 75% of the violent crime. And each one of those people has been arrested on average 8 to 12 times, meaning they're repeat offenders. Obviously, they're doing it over and over. Why would you add another, even if it's 1% of the 10 million people, why would you add another 1% of people that's going to go on to commit 8 to 12 more violent crimes? Totally unnecessarily.
I mean, you talk about this a lot. I was thinking about you yesterday, actually, about this exact point, which I know you also talk a lot about Rudy Giuliani's efforts in New York to resolve this exact problem, which is like, look, it's a very small number of people who commit all the same crimes. Just arrest them. George Soros wants to release those people so they can kill more Americans. We want to arrest them and get them out of polite society so that we can have a nice world. I saw a video this week. Maybe you saw it from President Bukele in El Salvador. He shared a flyover video of a town square, and it's beautiful. It's like people hanging out. There's kids jumping rope. It's like colorful outfits, dancing, eating, festival. It's gorgeous. And a couple years ago, that wasn't possible. El Salvador was a hellhole. Trash, gangs, just absolute despair. And he's turned that country around on a dime. And the left, the global left, but the American left hates this guy. They say he's a fascist. He's out of control. But fundamentally, at his core, what has he achieved? He's restored order by taking that very small percentage of people that you're talking about off the streets, locking them up. And then when you get the bad guys out, it turns out the good people can actually enjoy their lives. This is not a difficult concept. He took the most dangerous country in the Western Hemisphere, and by some accounts has turned it into the safest country in the Western Hemisphere. There's lessons in there. I'm telling you, follow the Constitution, follow the rule of law, but lock up the bad guys.
Yeah. And, I say to people to kind of hammer this home because, people can avoid an assertion, has been told to me many times, but they can't avoid a question. Your brain just automatically wants to answer it. I say to people all the time, how many murderers or rapists do you know? And they're like horrified by the question. They're like, none, of course. I'm like, well, why do you respond like that? Well, I don't hang around with those people, nor would I hang around with anyone who knows those people. Why? Well, because they're thankfully really rare. Like, that's the point I try to make to people. Like, you don't know a murderer or rapist because there's just not a lot of them. So when you get these scumbags off the street, people aren't getting murdered or raped or assaulted or burglarized. The math is not hard to figure out. And when people used to do these presentations for me on, felony apprehension warrants and stuff in our conference room, I was stunned at how if you went out and just grabbed a pocket of 100 people in Phoenix, Arizona, you could watch the crime rate the next month go down, 5, 10, 15, 20 points. I mean, we saw it in Memphis. It's incredible. The numbers are just so on our side if we just go and enforce the law.
Yeah. So before we conclude here, I want to compliment you on something you said yesterday, because I was listening with intensity to your program yesterday. And I heard you talking about the cost of the left. In other words, like the way the left operates, they have to spend, as you described, a ton of political capital in order to lie to the American people, because the truth is just so prevalent now, thanks to social media, thanks to platforms like Rumble, thanks to shows like ours. And it got me thinking a lot. I've been obsessing over it for the last 24 hours. And here's what I was thinking. Not only do they have to spend political capital, they have to spend actual economic capital. They have to spend a lot of money to lie to the American people, because the truth is so free and so prevalent right now that they just have to overwhelm it. And there's a couple of examples of this. Certainly this issue, in order for the American people to continue to betray ourselves and to allow people to pour into our country and stab us to death or hit us in the face with hammers, you've got to be lied to. You have to be lied to at astronomical levels. You have to live in the Truman Show in order to become convinced of that reality. And so that costs a lot of money to operate the Truman Show. Meanwhile, the rest of us doesn't actually cost that much money to tell the truth.
Go to Grok. Go to Gemini. Go to ChatGPT.
This is how President Trump beat Hillary. Hillary spends $1 bajillion to lose. Trump spends almost nothing, and he won because the truth prevailed. So when you look big picture, I'm telling you, Dan, I've been thinking about this a lot. I'm going to think about this a lot going forward. Big picture, The reason why the Democrats have to spend like $40 million right now to rig elections in Virginia is because they have to lie about what they're doing. Meanwhile, Republican voters are showing up in massive numbers, not because we have a lot of money supporting us. The reason they're showing up is because the truth has broken free. And we need so much more of that. But really, when the truth is on your side, what a great advantage to have that. And I just want to thank you for putting that idea in my head.
Oh, yeah, no, it's just such an obvious point. You go to like Google, it's not even a right-wing site. And I did it earlier in the show with this fire in a movie theater bullshit this congressman put out. Like, that's not a thing. All you had to do is put in, like, before you tweeted this out, you just could have asked, is fire in a movie theater the First Amendment standard? No, it is not.
No.
Well, it's not hard. It cost me nothing. It cost me a half a kilocal. Put my thumbs on the machine to tie. I mean, it's really simple. I got to run, Vince. I really appreciate it. Your show is amazing. You're crushing it. One of the top conservative podcasts out there. If you want to check it out, rumble.com/Vince. You want to watch him live? You should every day at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Join his tremendous audience. You can watch video on demand anytime, and you can catch his nationally syndicated radio show on a ton of stations around the country from noon to 3 Eastern time. Vince, I will see you on your show, radio show, next Wednesday, and you'll be back here in a couple of weeks. So thanks for joining us, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good to see you too. That was Vince Colonnese, folks. You can also check out Haley at noon, rumble.com/Haley. And as always, join us every single morning. Download the Rumble app. It is absolutely free. Join us at 10 a.m. Eastern time for the Bongino lineup of the Bongino Inc. lineup. We really appreciate your support. And you can go to rumble.com/Bongino. If you don't want to download the app and you want to watch on the web, that's fine. But either way, if you click that follow button, it's free. We really appreciate it. Thanks, folks, for tuning in. You know I love you all. I really appreciate the Bongino Army. You've been there for me for a long time. I'll see you back here tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Hey there, I'm Vince.
I'm Haley Caradia,
Host of Vince.
host of Scrolling with Haley.
You can always catch my show right here
on the Bongino Report.
live, 8 a.m. Eastern, weekday mornings.
Weekdays at noon. If you miss it, no worries. The show will always be
Right here
and
and
anywhere you find podcasts. Thanks for watching.